Hi, my name is Venita Tompkins, and I'm having the reflection moment of being able to share the story and my memories of July 1967. I was less than 4 to 5 years old. To be exact, I was 4 years old. And I'm coming on the behalf as the voice of Tanya Blanding. Bringing that spirit and energy to share. I could be representative of Christ age-wise as she would be today. Tanya Blanding was the youngest individual that was slain during the 1967 riots on the corner of Euclid and 12th Street, which is now known as Rosa Parks Boulevard. I stayed down the street like 15, I think our address to the 1656 West Euclid, which was down the street. And I just remember a part what really stands out to me from a young child perspective, which was relevant, was the fact that my Easter dress was at the cleaners located on the corner of 12th Street, and it was on fire. So that was dramatic. Not only was my Easter dress was going to be burnt up, but my concern to my mother was the fire going to come down because the blaze. We knew that the fire trucks was on the scene. Neighbors across, the elders, they were Mr. Canty and them. They was taking the water hose and they was watering down the houses, so their properties would not get burned. And I think not knowing as a child the danger that was involved with the child that had got killed, which was the same age as me, was why my mother was so concerned to remove us from the environment. So she ended up taking us over to my grandmother's house on Shane. And now that I'm old enough and I'm reflecting, the reason why she had us to move and why she was, in a panic, because children were being killed. Children the same age as her children, right down the street from her house. But I do remember the looting. I remember the gentleman running through. I'm like, he's running through our backyard with a television. Coming from 12th Street, so they were coming down the alley, and like I said, from a kid's perspective and still being sheltered to a certain extent. This is what I'm, through my lenses of looking out the window. From our house, we stayed in a two-family flat on Euclid. People running down the street, specifically the gentleman with the TV going through our backyard. And as the neighbors watering down the houses. And so that fear of, is our house going to be burnt down? Are we going to have our house, when we come back home? But my mother, she put us in a cab because she didn't drive. So there's 4 of us, so she put us all in, in a cab, and we went on Shane across the boulevard to my grandmother's house. But now that I reflect back, that was also a safety precaution for her, out of the fear that not only was the house being burned, the children were being killed. And as far as the energy in the neighborhood with the just with the panic, people were moving, a lot of movement going around, and this is a daytime scenario that I'm recalling, because I guess learning later that it required a curfew. But my personal experience during the daytime was that it was a lot of movement. The energy was a lot of movement, and it was I guess a scary feeling for the community and the neighbors in the block, and especially my mother holding her composure of her having children and still being able to provide us safety first because of what was really going on. And then I can remember the army trucks. The big army trucks that you can get in, and with the submarine top that you can close in, and with the long guns, that was parked right on the corner. in the state, in the troopers, that they were around, so they had weapons. So that army truck, that definitely stood out, because during that time in the 60s, that was some of the play that the children played with, was army men. They had green army men that my brothers and them used to play with. So being exposed to that, but then to actually see that the tank, that's what it was. It was the tank, the army tank. And it was parked on the corner of Euclid and 12th Street. And just the thought now of just thinking she would be the same, Tanya Bland would be the same age as myself. And that, I guess, you know, we were just so many houses away. And unfortunately, however the story was told of the sniper being afraid, and that's why they shot into the house. I mean, it's really disheartening now just to think that, you know, all the memories, all the life. They end up settling in 1977 with her family, but money could not replace the fact that, you know, prior to her life, even reflecting on mine, the things that she did not see and could not experience. And she was in her home. She was in her home.
I think I have two questions. One, since you're still there in the area, what's the present like having that memory of that experience? What's it like going out of your house now?
Well, it's been a journey. Because after the riot, then a spirit of energy came out of the community, and they called it Rising from the Ashes. And they wanted to redevelop their community. And so those individuals in the community, Joseph Walker Williams, Elizabeth Richard, Ms. Poe, Mr. Witherspoon, Miss Wiley, she's 97, she's living on Taylor now, and so many other names, Mr. Cruz, all those different elders, the shoulders that community was developed on. That was the birth of the Virginia Park District Council. That was the birth of the shopping center, came out of West Grand Boulevard Association. And wanting to redevelop that area. So it went through a journey of redeveloping, rising from the ashes. So that was the 70s. The 70s, 80s, they did 20 years later from the shopping center. Joseph Walker Williams, the community center was built. The Community Investment Association, which is still birthed out of the West Grand Boulevard Association. That would be the parent organization. End up deciding to write a proposal to the federal government, and these were ordinary people like you and I. But I say smart.
And it is
ordinary people like you and
I. And it is the first, if not only,
the first shopping center. They wrote the proposal to have that area redeveloped. Henry Ford Hospital ended up becoming on later. Henry Ford Hospital was during that time was, and I guess not just to reflect back just a little bit, since you're sort of awakening in the spirit, on Seward and Delaware. Prior to the riot, or right during that time, I just remember there was apartment buildings, and there was just tons of people. There was a lot of people up in those apartment buildings. It was, I don't know if it was 10, 15 apartment buildings. So that was a lot of people, a lot of residents in that area. But as everything burned or got tore down, or people got relocated, or either people left, and they wanted to bring that energy of revitalization back to the community, fighting for affordable housing, still the job issue, still wanting the community to exist. That was the purpose of applying for that federal government money. And they were recognized. Julia Witherspoon, he was an attorney. He was instrumental in helping to get those contracts approved. And even though Henry Ford Hospital has always been in the eyes of Virginia Park, at one time Henry Ford Hospital, per Elizabeth Richard, my mother, would say Henry Ford Hospital did not have much involvement with the community unless you were one of their workers and you got hurt deadly. It was almost fatal out at that Ford plant. That's how you ended up at Henry Ford Hospital.
And I think I have one more question.
Okay. But not to leave it there with the Henry Ford Hospital, but they did become involved with joint venture when it came down to the shopping center development. It was $900,000 that they were short, so they offered to the community 300 bonds at $300. The community purchased 150 bonds, and Henry Ford Hospital purchased the other, and that equaled out to $900,000, and that created the relationship of the joint venture, Henry Ford.
Last question is, what would you like to leave future generation that's not here yet? About one, the pain, and two, the revitalization.
First of all, knowing to the future that the same smart people that was resilient, that existed prior to the riot, through the riot, after the riot, and to today, that energy, the knowledge, the generational blessing to continue to thrive. Being property owners, being entrepreneurs, for this baby here, for her to be able to safely come over to the Virginia Park area and come up to that mural and be able to press a button or some type of interactive to see that still positive things happen. Even though a life was lost or sacrificed, many lives, because Tanya Bland wasn't the only one. But I carry that spirit as a voice right now. And for this baby to be able to come in that area and still have the tenacity and the smarts to be able to continue to write grants and proposals to bring millions of dollars in her community, in Virginia Park, in Oakland, in North Carolina.
Thank you.
Great.